Introduce myself. My name is Ecurrencyhodler. You can call me E for short. I am a moderator of our Litecoin and also the official Discord channel. And yeah, I also run a publication called the Litecoin School of Crypto. And the goal of this publication is to reduce the technical barriers of entry, because right now, man, I'm getting a lot of posts on the subreddit of like, how do you send Litecoin, and what wallet should I use, or even questions like how do I even buy Litecoin. So my publication is geared specifically towards the masses, is to their guides, instructional guides, to help people understand how to get into Litecoin, how to buy Litecoin, how to understand the technology. But yeah, so today's topic, we'll start right off and go into an introduction to blockchain. And yeah, so let's do, the first is, what is a blockchain? Well, simply, a blockchain is a chain of blocks, right? It's pretty redundant, I know, my definition, but specifically, let's talk about what a block is. So I've got an image for you guys to look at. So I want you to imagine a block like a folder, right? And in this folder is a record of information, like who sent Litecoin to who and how much, right? And the great thing about blocks is that anybody can see them. Now, what is a blockchain? I got another image for you guys. And a blockchain is basically, now how the blockchain works is that all of these blocks that we just talked about, they go through a submission process to be added to something called a ledger, or something called the blockchain. And what it is it's an official record of all the transactions throughout the history of the blockchain, for example, Litecoin. Now, these blocks are linked together by including transactions not only from the current block, but also the previous block as well. And in this way, it forms a chain, hence the name blockchain, right? And the cool thing about a blockchain is that it acts like a public ledger. What this means is that every successful Litecoin transaction that has ever happened is recorded in the blockchain. And so this means you could literally go back to January 1st at 1 p.m. and see who sent Litecoin to who for how much. Now, this is one of the things that make blockchains so valuable, because it cuts out the middleman completely, right? And I was just talking to a friend about like his concerns about banks, right? He holds his entire savings and his checking account in banks. But if you really think about it, a bank is just a digital record of your holdings, right? When you swipe your credit card or when you swipe your debit card, all it does is it just digitally alters your account. So it's possible that a hacker can gain access into your bank account's information and just digitally alter your specific account and bring it down to zero for whatever reason, right? It's not like when you swipe your credit card, it's not like cash or fiat directly transfers from you to the business, but rather it's just a digital record of the transaction, and then they send the fiat later. Well, with the blockchain, it's really, really hard for a hacker to change the ledger, to change the public record of all the transactions of Litecoins that happen in the blockchain. It's really, really hard. And we'll see how all this works together in depth later on in the stream. But the reason why I wanted to start off with the topic of an intro to blockchain is basically because almost every single cryptocurrency that you see in CoinMarketCap uses this fundamental principle, uses this fundamental blockchain technology. So understanding blockchains will help you as an investor, as a cryptocurrency enthusiast, as a Litecoin holder. It'll help you better understand all the other altcoins out there as well. So hopefully that was informational, and hopefully that helped you. So now we're going to get to some of the questions that everybody sent me via SurveyMonkey, and you guys had a lot of good questions. So the first question that I had is this: what wallet should I use? Okay, so that's a good question, and it's an important question because it speaks to security, right? And so you should definitely use a cold wallet. A hot wallet is when your Litecoin wallet is connected to the internet via your phone and your phone data, or specifically Wi-Fi. A cold wallet is when it's not connected to the internet. And the reason why this is safe, and the reason why it's preferred, is pretty much because hackers, not being connected to the internet prevents hackers from accessing your private keys. Now, your private keys are crucial. This is really, really important. You've got to back it up, and you cannot share this with anybody else, right? Andreas, he's like an amazing like Bitcoin educator. He's done so much for the community. I think one of his lines that he coined is that if you don't own your private keys, you don't own your coins. And the reason is because your private keys, your wallet uses your private keys to sign the transactions, to send it. So without access to so if you don't have your private keys, you can't send your Litecoins. But if somebody else has your private keys, they can steal your Litecoins. So it's really, really important. It's important to keep a cold wallet. Now, I personally recommend a hardware wallet. I have a Ledger Nano S. Here, let me show you. I have a Ledger Nano S, and I personally love it. It gives me so much peace of mind, so much security. They make it so easy to split your coins during hard forks like Bitcoin Gold or Bitcoin Cash. It was just super easy to split my coins with the Ledger Nano S. So I highly recommend it. Trezors are good too. But hardware wallets are great because they are cold wallets in that they isolate the private keys from the internet, from hackers, right? And so it's pretty secure. Even though your Ledger Nano S or your Trezor is plugged into your computer, your private keys are still isolated from the internet, and that's huge. It's a huge win. But the downside of having a hardware wallet is that it can cost a lot of money, right? And unfortunately, that's something that not a lot of people have, and it's something that I can relate to and something I had to think through for myself. And so here's another option for you to consider when it comes to where you should store your Litecoins. I would recommend Electrum-LTC. If you are new to cryptocurrency, I would not suggest Litecoin Core. The reason why is because it's kind of complicated to set up Litecoin Core. Litecoin Core is a full node client, and it takes a while for it to sync completely with the blockchain. But with Electrum-LTC, you download it, you turn it on, it syncs within a matter of minutes. So it's really easy for beginners to use. And make sure that you download electrum-ltc.org. You download it from that website. And make sure you also don't download from electrum.org. Right? The Electrum wallet and the Electrum-LTC wallet are two very different things. Electrum is specifically for Bitcoin, and Electrum-LTC is for Litecoin. I bring this up because there are so many people on the subreddit that I help out try to recover their Litecoins from their Bitcoin addresses, and hopefully this will help educate people to know that you got to use specifically your Electrum-LTC wallet. And when you send Litecoins, make sure you send to either an L address or an M address. Okay, not a 3 address. A 3 addresses used to be, Bitcoin and Litecoin used to share 3 addresses, but it was confusing so many people. So yeah, the Litecoin development team, they decided to switch it to an M address. So keep that in mind. Cool. And okay, so you want to choose the Electrum-LTC wallet, and to turn it into a cold wallet, you download it, and then you can actually stick it into a USB drive and then just disconnect it from your computer. And you have essentially created a makeshift cold wallet with Electrum-LTC. I posted a link below, and it has detailed instructions through that guide. So if you want to use this as your option for storing Litecoins, definitely go at it. But when you create your Electrum-LTC, it'll tell you to write down your seed keys. And this goes for any wallet, right? Even Loaf Wallet, which is also a good option to have. If you download Loaf Wallet or Electrum-LTC wallet, write down your seed keys right away. There are so many people on the subreddit, on our Litecoin, on subreddit Litecoin, that they say, can I recover my Litecoins if I don't have my seed keys? And I'm like, no, I can't help you. There's no way that you can recover it without your seed keys, a wallet.dat file, or your private keys. Those are the three main ways that you can back up or recover your Litecoins. So I cannot emphasize enough, when you create a wallet, write down your seed keys, put it in a safe place, make sure nobody else sees it, and yeah, like that's how you back up your wallet. If your computer crashes, it's okay, because you can always back up your Litecoin with your seed keys. All right. So and once you get comfortable with Electrum-LTC, with cryptocurrency overall, then I would recommend that you try using Litecoin Core. And Litecoin Core is a full node wallet, and they're great because it helps support the Litecoin network. Okay, so just keep that in mind as you get more comfortable, more educated, more confident. You might want to try hosting up a Litecoin Core to support the Litecoin network. All right, another question I had was how do I use a keep key? A keep key is a hardware wallet device, and I have no idea how to use it. Sorry, buddy. I wish I could help you. But yeah, I really don't know. They should have manuals, right? Like they should have manuals for you to look at. So whoever asked for the keep key manual, look into it. If you don't know how to use it, buy Ledger Nano S and I'll help you out. I'll figure out how to navigate it. It can be a little confusing, but yeah, I'm on Litecoin. I'm on the subreddit r Litecoin, and I'm also on the official Litecoin Discord channel. So check that out. The next question I got is how do you buy and sell Litecoin for US dollars? Yeah, so I recommend using well-known and reputable exchanges like Coinbase. What they do is they connect your bank account to the exchange, and so it's fairly easy to like withdraw money and to cash out into your bank. Other exchanges are Bitrex and Kraken. I think these two exchanges, they allow you to do like wire transfers. But if you buy it through an exchange, if you buy Litecoin through an exchange like Coinbase, then you would probably want to sell your Litecoin through the same exchange because it's already connected to your bank account. But it's very possible. It's very possible for you to buy it from Coinbase, send it to Kraken, sell it on Kraken, and then wire transfer it back to your bank. I mean, yeah, that's an option. But yeah. So I would recommend exchanges as the primary on-ramps to buying and selling Litecoin. And I tend to stay away from peer-to-peer selling simply because like it's so easy to get swindled, and it can be a little bit dangerous because Litecoin right now is like, I don't know, it's like $300. Yeah, it was, and we had like an all-time high a couple days ago. So yeah, Litecoin is, it's like $300. So on CoinMarketCap, and that's quite a bit of money to exchange peer-to-peer. So it's up to you. Make your wise decisions. I know there are like local Bitcoins, and I think Litecoin local. I think those you can do peer-to-peer exchanges that way. But yeah, it's up to you. There have been stories of people getting scammed. So just be mindful of that. All right, the next question is GDAX the best trading platform? And I have been having issues validating my identity, and I am looking to get lower transactional fees. What site has the best transactional fees? All right. For those of you who don't know, is GDAX is an extension of Coinbase. They're the same company, and actually Charlie Lee, he helped set up GDAX. He helped create it, and so shout out to Charlie for that. But GDAX is for more experienced traders. To trade on GDAX, to sell and buy on GDAX, you'll need to know how to set limit orders. I have a guide linked in my description below for you to check out. And it'll teach you how to set like limit buy and sell orders. But the great thing about GDAX that I absolutely love is that it charges you 0 fees if you just sell or buy a limit order. And that's just really hard to beat. That you don't get charged anything for placing limit orders. But also Bitrex is also a good exchange. They have lots of altcoins. Coinbase is limited because it only offers Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, so that's something to consider as well. Now, on the topic of verification, guys, I know it is an absolute struggle out there. I know there must be people just pulling out their hairs. I bet there are people whose hair are turning gray just like due to stress trying to verify on all these different exchanges. It is a struggle, and it sucks, and I'm really sorry. But I know for a fact that Coinbase and all these other exchanges, they're overwhelmed right now with just the simple sheer amount of people signing up. So I know it's frustrating, and I know it sucks, but I just encourage you just to sit tight, especially because I'm a firm believer in Litecoin. I firmly believe that Litecoin is going to go to the moon, hands down, no doubt. I mean, I thought Litecoin was going to hit $100 this year. Never in my wildest dreams did I think it would hit 300. It is unreal. But so just sit tight. I still think we're in the early stages of cryptocurrency. 2018, I believe, is going to be the year of adoption. So just sit tight, get through the verification process, submit your support tickets, call Coinbase, support on the phone. And yeah, just, you know, buckle down, bear through it. And even though it sucks right now, honestly, in the long term, this is good because it's a strong signal for adoption. So many people are signing up. And so in the long term, yeah, it's a good thing. All right, the next question is going to be a little bit more in depth. It's called, how does a Litecoin transaction work? So the slide that I pulled up for you guys up here is, yeah, so this is what a Litecoin network would look like. So you have 5 people in this network and they all are running full nodes. Hold on, there's some guy asking where to ask questions. Hey, Wabadi, I'm gonna have an AMA after I'm done with this, after my piece. So it's almost done. I'm almost done. So you'll get to ask your questions soon enough. All right. So how does a Litecoin transaction work? I'm only gonna go through like a superficial level of how this all works. I think I've linked a guide to how a Litecoin transaction works in depth in my description. So check that out. But basically, you'll need 2 groups of people. You need miners and you need userful nodes. Now, userful nodes are these guys in the blue in this diagram that you see. Userful nodes have various responsibilities. They're like the backbone of the Litecoin network. They download the blockchain, they relay transactions, they enforce Litecoin protocol, they monitor and set hash difficulty for miners. So if they solve blocks too fast, they make it harder. If they solve it too slow, they make it easier. Right? And most importantly, like these full nodes, as a user, you get to help determine consensus of the Litecoin blockchain. And that's really important and is really empowering. The next group of people are miners. Now, miners also run full nodes. They need it. They need a full node to mine because they need a reference. They need to reference the public ledger to make sure they don't put any transactions that have already been processed into the public ledger. And so these miners, they do the hard work. They create the blocks, these folders filled with informations that I talked about earlier. They fill them with transactions that are in the memory pool. And then finally, they solve the cryptographic puzzle to earn the right to add their block to the blockchain. Once again, they solve the cryptographic puzzle to earn the right to add their block to the blockchains. So you see these 2 miners in the picture? Well, they're technically competing against each other to see who gets to add their block to the blockchain, right? And this whole process that I just described is called proof of work, because you've got to prove that you solve the puzzle to the network, to the nodes, in order to successfully add your block. Now, once the block is added, once the miners, they successfully add the block to the blockchain, the full nodes download it and they all agree on consensus of what the uniform public ledger is, your transaction is permanently recorded. All right. So how does it all work? Well, first you'll need a wallet client, whether it be a Litecoin Core, which is a full node client, or Electrum-LTC, which is considered a Lite client, or Loaf Wallet, which is also a Lite client. You'll need a wallet client that broadcasts your transaction to a full node, and that full node will broadcast it throughout the network and send it to a miner, right? And these miners, they'll pick up your transaction, and if you have a higher fee, it's more likely to get processed. If you have a lower fee, then it might take a while because miners are going to give preferential treatment to higher fees because they want money. They want money. But yeah, so if you need your transactions to get processed faster, set a high fee. But by and large, on average, most of my Litecoin transaction fees are like a cent because I custom set my fees through Ledger Nano S or Electrum-LTC. So I strongly advocate for people to custom set their fees to low and just wait it out. Wait it out like 2-3 hours. It's not a problem. It'll go through. But basically, okay, so you broadcast your transaction to a full node. The full node, they relay it to miners. Miners pick it up. They create a block. They stick it in the block, and then they submit the block to the blockchain. They submit the block to the blockchain. And if it's successful, if they successfully add it to the blockchain, the new block gets relayed throughout the entire network to all the other full nodes. This is called block propagation. and and for them to download so that everyone has the same copy of the ledger. Okay. So I hope that was clear. I think I might have been a little bit rambling a little bit, but yeah, hopefully that was clear. Next. All right, the next question is, can you talk more about the transaction speed of Litecoin compared to other coins, specifically compared to Ethereum? Oh man, Ethereum. All right, so this is an image. So as you can see from here, block times are about 2.5 minutes per Litecoin, per block for Litecoin. Ether, which is part of the Ethereum system, it shoots for about 14 seconds. Okay, now there are pros and cons to each, right? With Ether, they're trying to become a token, not necessarily a cryptocurrency. They're trying to become a token. So you use Ether to connect to the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine, and it kind of makes sense that you want 14-second block times because you want to access your dApps faster. You want, as if you submit an Ethereum to access the EVM, you want it to go through pretty fast, right? You want your transactions to get processed. But Litecoin is digital silver. It's the cryptocurrency for payments. So you want a certain degree of security. And so this is what I mean by security. Every time you add a block to the blockchain, you run the risk of there being a chain split. Okay, here, I think I have an image to show you guys. Yeah, here we go. So, like I said, everybody has a copy of the ledger. Everyone maintains consensus. Everyone uniformly agrees that there's one format of the ledger. But if two miners solve the block at the same time and they both submit it to the network, the chain splits. And so what you see in the picture in front of you is one path splitting up into two, maybe even three paths for the chain to go. Now, this presents a problem because you've got to determine which one of these three chains is the legitimate chain, is the chain that is part of the unified Litecoin network. And it can get problematic, especially because there are things called orphan blocks. So once, let's say the middle track is the one that is uniformly defined as this is the Litecoin blockchain. The other two ones are irrelevant. If that happens, then they become orphaned. And so miners, what happens is they don't get any block reward. Even if they successfully block onto the blockchain, they don't get any block reward because the chain is orphaned. So with Litecoin, with 2.5 minutes, that's pretty, it's decently secure. Bitcoin is at 10 minutes, but Ethereum is at an astounding 14 seconds. It's nuts. It's nuts that that they're doing it so fast and so frequently. Yeah, and if this is a bit over your head, don't worry. It's a bit more technical than you need to know right now. I'll cover it more in depth later. I'll write an article on what a hard fork is and what a chain split is, but. Yeah, so Ethereum, back to the 14-second block times, they kind of mitigate the dangers of chain splitting through something called the Ghost Protocol. Okay, just side note, Ethereum, they have like great names for their freaking protocols, like Ghost, Byzantine Protocol, or Casper. Gosh, that's pretty good branding, I'd say. Anyways, Ethereum, they mitigate the dangers of the chain splits of 14 seconds through the Ghost Protocol, and it's limited. It's limited to 7 generations. And so what the Ghost Protocol does, it factors in orphan blocks to determine like the unified ledger. And so instead of completely ignoring orphan blocks, and because there's 14 seconds and because there can be many different many orphan blocks, what the Ghost Protocol does is it factors in the chain that has a lot of these orphan blocks, and they say, hey, this has the most hash work because of all these orphan blocks, and so we're going to go with this chain being the longest chain, being the official Ether blockchain. The second aspect of the Ghost Protocol is something called is where the orphan blocks, they actually receive 87.5% of block rewards, and the reason they do this is to avoid monopolization of block rewards. Yeah, so that's how Ethereum kind of mitigates all this craziness of all the dangers of chain split through something called a limited ghost protocol. But here's the thing, it's really complicated. It's really, really complicated. And my personal opinion is that with all things technology, simpler is better, right? There's less room for error. There's less room for things to get, mixed up or broken. And so that's why I don't know. I just think Litecoin is better simply because it's more secure, it's stabler, not only in the price but also the technology. We've had 0 hard forks. Ethereum has had 1 since the DApp fiasco. There's ETC and ETH. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really like Litecoin. All right, we have 2 more questions and then we'll be almost done with the live stream. What does the future hold for Litecoin? Let me show you. Let's try this. How about now, guys? Can you guys hear me? All right, cool. Sorry about that. I forgot to input my my audio for this slide. So, okay, back to it. What is slated for Litecoin technology? Now, there are a lot. Very briefly, there's Mass, there's the Lightning Network, Atomic Swaps, Covenant, Colored Coins, and Confidential Transactions. And it's a lot. If you want a full list of what's coming onto Litecoin, I highly recommend www.litecoincore.org. That is the official Litecoin developers website, and they have all the future technology that they want to implement onto Litecoin there. I break down what each of these technology does for Litecoin. I break it down for you guys in an article. I think I've linked it in the description below. And so, yeah, if you want to understand what it all does, click on that link. It'll help you understand. The next tech, well, what's the next tech specifically? I think it's going to be masked. I think it's going to be masked with Merkleized abstract trees. So, yeah, it's going to help increase smart contracts and on Litecoin. So that's pretty exciting. It'll also help resist censorship of transactions because it turns all of it into a Merkleized root. So it's pretty exciting. Also, but I also know that Charlie Lee is very, very excited about confidential transactions because it increases Litecoin's fungibility, right? And for people who don't know, fungibility is basically the concept that one Litecoin will always equal one Litecoin. And this is important because it is a fundamental principle of all things that are currency of fiat, right? For example, there are sometimes on Reddit where you'll hear stories of Coinbase shutting down accounts because they find an address that was connected to the dark net of some sort. It's a possibility, and it is a reality. And so what confidential transactions will do is it'll help people kind of obfuscate like the amount of transactions that you're sending. And there's this cool little trick where you can actually send 0 to an address. So it'll like kind of throw off people who are trying to track your addresses, and people who will try to censor it like Coinbase does. And so what this means in the end is that no matter how your Litecoin is spent, it will always be valid. Whether you spend it, I don't know, at the grocery store, at the liquor store, for a burger, for, I don't know, maybe something more illicit, you know, on the black markets, whatever way that you use Litecoin, it will still be valid as a currency. And this is important because think about it, right? People freak out and they say, well, if there's fungibility, then can't Litecoin be used for the black markets, and won't like the government try to shut it down? My response to that is like, look, fiat, US dollars, government-backed currencies, they already have this characteristic, right? There's no way, once you withdraw cash from the bank, there's no way that you can keep track of it at all. Like people, like that's why like in movies, you'll see people carrying, okay, I want cash. You know, they don't want checks, they don't want a credit card, they don't want a wire transfer, they want cash, because you can't track it. It's impossible. Once it's out of the bank and you hand it to, I don't know, a drug dealer, it's like there's no way to know that, oh, this drug dealer owned this dollar bill. And so fungibility is a fundamental principle of being a currency, and it's going to be really good for Litecoin. And for people who are freaking out about whether, you know, it'll be like legitimized in the black market, I would say the fiat US dollar already has this characteristic. So I find it moot. I find that point moot. All right. So what's next? What are your marketing efforts? What are my marketing efforts? I think this person was probably talking about Litecoin. So lots of cool stuff coming for Litecoin. We'll go more in depth about Litecoin's marketing plans on Tuesday with MLP Frank, the director of the Litecoin Foundation. I tweeted it out. I'll tweet it out again. So follow my Twitter at the Light School, LITECSCHOOL, the Light School. Follow me there, and you can stay up to date with that. But it's going to be on Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, we're gonna go in depth into what Litecoin is doing to market itself, and we've got some great activity going on. And as for me, I'm working on getting a website. I bought a domain, I'm hosting it, and I just need. I'm working hopefully with this guy who'll set it up for me. And once I get that all settled, I'm hoping to do like a fundraiser to do like an online marketing campaign. Via Facebook or Reddit, and the point is to just get people more educated, to get people more comfortable with the topic of cryptocurrency and Litecoin, just to get them more knowledgeable about it. And I firmly believe like education is power. Like people need to know what's happening. People need to know about security. People need to know about private keys and how to make sure that they don't lose their Litecoins. Partly because I'm getting tired of helping so many people on the subreddit, but also because, you know, it's just less stress, and yeah, we want people to be in control of their own coins. All right, here we go. So the last part is an AMA. I am going to check out the chat box. I will, if you guys have any questions, please type them in the chat box, and then I will get to it. So ask me anything. All right, seems like, man, I must have answered all your questions, or you all must be sleeping. Either way, I think I'm gonna wrap up my, hello, Philip. Do you have a question? Phil, you're such a troll. Oh my gosh. What future feature do I think will have the most effect on the market price? Wow, good question. I personally think that Lightning Network plus the atomic swaps is going to really bring up the price of Litecoin. It's going to make it more tied to Bitcoin, and the reason is this: it'll be cheaper to buy Bitcoin with Litecoin via atomic swaps. I'm gonna print out an article of and how this all works out, but it basically goes to the fact that like atomic swaps, you're directly swapping Litecoin for Bitcoin between another person. Now, if I want to get Bitcoin, what I would have to do is I would have to load up fiat onto Coinbase, buy Bitcoin, and then send it to my wallet, right? Now, if I do that, it costs, I don't know, average transaction fee, Bitcoin transaction fee is like, I don't know, like $10, right? So here's the thing. With atomic swaps, I would send Litecoin to another person for his Bitcoin. But the transaction fee would be split between me and the other person ideally, right? So that guy has like $10 of Bitcoin transaction fees, and I have like $1. Unfortunately, it's like $1 for right now. I don't know why, but it's like $1 transaction fee right now for the Litecoin. And so we would split the cost. And so that's $11 divided by 2. So that's like $5.5 between the two of us. And so I can get my Bitcoin for $5.5 transaction fee, as opposed to a $10 transaction fee that I would have to withdraw from an exchange. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that explains to you why Litecoin and why atomic swaps is such a huge deal, and why I think like Charlie Lee is a freaking genius for seeing all this go down like earlier this year. Yeah, he's really, really smart. Cool. All right, next question is, how much do I have? Savage, I have 0 Litecoins. Just kidding. I'm not gonna tell you. Come on. Okay, so Philip, you want to know what Litecoin can do for art markets, especially making proof of ownership to allow limited digital copies. Oh, that's such a interesting question. Yeah, so I would imagine that we'd have to implement RSK and smart contracts onto Litecoin in order to make that happen. So we would have to wait for that. But that's such a cool thought. And you know, if there are any like developers out there, it would be so cool if we built like a Litecoin app, something akin to like CryptoCritties except for Litecoin. Whether it be like a simple game or I don't know, yeah, like trading cards or something art. So that would be really, really cool for us to kind of engage. Would this be something related with masked or colored coins? Yes, it would. Or at least that would be my hunch. But you know what? Like the more I think about it, if you you could, to prove ownership of an art piece, you could literally sign an address and stick it in an art somewhere, and then and you can sign that address with a message and say, hey, this is Philip Hahn, and I made this piece. So that might bring legitimacy to the address in that way. But I'd have to think more about that. Okay, so this is not a Litecoin specific question, but I want to potentially purchase coins that are not in Coinbase at the moment. What's the best method for getting funds into other exchanges like Bitrex? Well, I know Bitrex does something like, yeah, they do wire transfers. So you can probably make your account via Bitrex and get a wire transfer and buy Bitcoin or Litecoin that way. Yeah. Do I mine? I do not mine. Mining is killer right now, and it's expensive to get into, so I do not do that. Yeah. Cool. All right, guys, I think I'm going to call it a day. Thank you guys so much for bearing with me, especially in the beginning. I totally missed I totally missed my 2 p.m. start time, so I'm sorry about that. But hopefully this was informational. Hopefully this was helpful. When is the next one? Gosh, I don't know. If you guys really liked it, then yeah, I'll think about doing another one. Maybe in like maybe 2-3 weeks, maybe a month. I'm not sure, but it really depends on my schedule. But yeah, I'll look into doing another one. All right, guys. Well, thank you for hanging out. I really appreciate everyone, and take care. Let's get some music going.